What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Motivate, Grind, Succeed podcast. If you all see the title of the show, which I know you did because you obviously clicked on it and you already see who we have on the show. We have on the show Nicki Condrat-Eberlin. I know her name looks a little bit difficult to pronounce, but trust me, it is Nicki Condrat-Eberlin. I asked her before the show, and that is how you pronounce it. So, without any further ado, guys, Nicki Condrat-Eberlin, here we are. If you hang out with her for too long, she is going to brainwash you into believing that you can do anything you want. Absolutely anything. She's a life coach with a passion for helping individuals reach their goals through building habits of discipline, consistency, focus, and accountability. I talk about that a lot on the show, and we have one here. You guys are going to get a bunch of gems out of this episode, I guarantee. Make sure you have your notepads out and ready. Her results-oriented coaching provides individuals the commitment to selfishly focus on themselves during their sessions. And Nicki has helped her clients who have been completely overwhelmed with things, just help things to keep it simple, create more results, and just to not make things more complicated. So if that sounds like something that you guys are absolutely interested in learning about, let's welcome Nicki on the show. Nicki, what's
Woo!
up? Welcome to the show. Yeah.
Yes, that was an entrance. I love it. And you said my name perfectly.
Thank you. I try. Alrighty. So Nicki, thanks again for coming. Thank again so much for coming on the show. How are you feeling today?
I am awesome. It is a pretty day here, and I'm good. I'm a morning person, so this is great for me.
Awesome. Same here. I've been up for a little bit of a while now, so
I know.
I'm kind of already pumped up and ready to go. It's 9 o'clock over here, so 9 o'clock in the morning. So I'm kind
Yep.
of I'm ready to go. I'm pumped. So usually, as the listeners know, without further ado, pretty much, we always start off with letting the guests kind of just explain. They have the floor for the first little bit. We let them explain, like, what is it that they do, who they are as a person. Like I said, I already gave the introduction, but of course, your story better than anybody else. So obviously, you can take us from like little Nicki to where you are now, how you got into what you're doing. Just walk us through like your life, just so we can have a little more background as to who you are as a person.
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, I am a life coach and I basically help people make their lives better. I work with individuals to build better habits to reach their goals. And I have been a life coach for about 2 years now. But previously, before that, that's where I kind of discovered my passion. I was working as a training manager and I was helping a lot of new employees that come through employee development, leadership development. And I just loved the aspect of helping people in their personal life because if things aren't going well in your personal life, it bleeds over to your work life and vice versa. And a lot of people that were coming into these entry level positions, they just didn't have the life skills that you need to start your career. Just the basics with communication, professionalism, all that kind of stuff. So I discovered my passion for coaching a couple years ago, and ever since then, I've been living life. I love helping people so much.
Absolutely. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, that's kind of the reason why I started this podcast actually myself too, because I just felt it was a joy, just absolutely just being able to get out there, help people, give people the advice that I was able to receive that they might not have heard
Yeah.
before, or maybe that they might not have been exposed to, or maybe they did, but I'm a believer as well. And like you could hear something like 1,000 times, like the same message, maybe just repackaged differently. But it's not until you're in like that one part of your life where you really need to hear it
Yeah.
does it actually click? And sometimes, hey, I might be that voice that you hear something and then it finally clicks and you're just like, thank you. And I'm like,
Yep.
hey, no, don't
Yep.
thank me. You were in the right place at the right time. That's how it is.
Yeah. I love that. And there's different phases of life, like, the different times we focus on different things. And it's great to hear things in different ways from different people because it makes it click in different ways you never thought. It's new perspectives. But I love, I just lost my train of thought. Oh, I was going to say, I've been someone who is very focused on personal development. It's always been something like I just love learning and trying to better
Mm.
myself is something that I think I naturally had ever since I was younger, but it worked to my benefit growing up and having certain struggles and kind of problem solving my way through life. And now I get to help people problem solve their way through their life. And there's no greater reward than that.
Absolutely. I know, because when I was first starting out in my other uh ventures before doing this podcasting thing, right? I'm not gonna be unashamedly, I was in it and I was just saying, look, this is gonna make me a ton of money and I'm gonna be able to do this. And then
Yeah.
there it is. And I had money as like the top priority, like the top goal. Like whatever it is, I want this to make me like a ton of money. And so
Yep.
the past two business ventures that I went down, it was all about the money. And let's just say one of them only lasted like a year, another one only lasted like 6 months. And because when you actually get into the grind of it, if you don't really have that true calling past money, it's not going to be sustainable. It's not going
Yeah,
to be
you'll
able
burn
to be
out.
maintained long term. Exactly. Yes, you're going to burn out, and that's exactly what happened to me both times. And I was just like, yo, I need to find something else that's actually going to be, it's going to feel fulfilling, and it's going to actually
Uh-huh.
feel like I'm actually doing something with my life, right? And
I
I'm,
love that. Yeah. And I just
mhm,
thought about this randomly, like, you know, I was burnt out in my previous position and I wasn't finding passion. But now, since I'm in my life coaching position and I've been in this full time for almost a year, I've hardly taken days off because
mm,
I give myself a balance. So I have a balanced work hours. I don't work myself to death. I love what I do, so I don't see it as work. I do this work because I value it and I appreciate it and I love helping people grow as a human. So it's not like I don't need breaks to like just reset myself because I do that throughout the week.
exactly. That's what I think about with when I do my show as well. Like when like I said, when I was doing my past business ventures and everything, I would just feel like, man, I don't feel like anything's really coming to this like at all. Like nothing's really like clicking. Nothing's really like
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm doing much. But money, hey, money. But I was like, but then again, when I really thought about it, I was just like, when money wasn't starting to roll in, I was actually investing in these businesses and everything,
Uh-huh.
and no money was coming back in, and I'm just like, well, I guess this doesn't work. This is kind of whack. Like the no money's
Yep.
coming out of this. Why would I keep doing this? And so I tried something else, and then the same kind of thing happened again, and now I'm doing this, and I feel so much more fulfilled with it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
absolutely fulfilled. Like I feel like I'm impacting people, and as I always say a lot of times too, right? Like I don't have to have like the biggest audience, right? I don't have to have like the Joe Rogan experience of
Yeah.
audience of podcasters, right? Like I don't have to have like millions of people listen to me all the time, right? But my thing is, as long as I can have just one person, right? Just
Yes.
one person that I can impact that comes back and truly says like, "Thank you so much for helping me out in XYZ spot." I'm fulfilled. I feel like I've done my
Exactly.
job, and I know whenever there's at least one, there's probably going to be at least one more, and that's what keeps me going. Knowing that, like, hey, thank you so much for the content that you put out. Thank you so much for this. Any reviews that I get, any people that tell me like behind the scenes, like, hey, Rashawn, thank you so much for the show. Like that. That's what keeps me going personally because
Yep.
I know I'm able to help people.
Yeah. I love that. I have that same thought too most of the time. If I can just help one person, I know I've done my job.
Hmm. Absolutely. And while we're talking about these one people, right? These one people or these group of one people or whoever that we help, they all have different problems in their life, right? And
Yep.
I know you as a coach, right? And then me also as a podcaster, like we kind of understand, like, I mean, being a coach, I mean, I'm not a coach myself, but I would probably assume to go to say like you would, no two clients are exactly the same, right?
Correct.
And so for me as a podcaster, I know that when I'm speaking to the audience, that no two of my audience members are going to be the same, right?
Yep.
So when we're going through all that, right, and we have to give out the tips and we have to give out the help and we have to give out, information that we do, right? Usually what I like to do is I like to start with something that I know helps the most amount of people, right? And usually that's things around habits, right?
Yep.
I've made an episode or two, I think, before about habits, and I just want to get your take on it, right? So when you're trying to help people problem solve their way through life, what habits did you first have to build to help yourself get to where you are now? And then what kind of habits, if they're the same or if they're different, whichever one that you like, which ones do you then tell some of your clientele, like, hey, try to build up this habit to try to, start putting yourself towards the right direction?
Yeah. So habits take time. So, when I talk about these things, it's very high level, but it does take years. Sometimes it does take weeks. It does take consistent action. But the biggest habit that I've had to switch is my mindset, like to get me to where I am right now. And that
Mm,
is the biggest piece when it comes to problem solving as well, and trying to figure out how to better yourself or how to get a new career or how to figure out how to make things work in your life is fixing your mindset and changing your perspective around things. So it could be as simple as transitioning yourself from victim mentality or, self-pity to more openness and curiosity about, what's going on and asking yourself questions and that sort of thing.
Hmm. Absolutely, yes. I wholeheartedly agree. Yes, because I know I'm a big person that's like I used to be, and I can be at sometimes a person who's very like I want it right now, I want it right now, or
Yeah,
even as soon as like I want it yesterday. And I'm like, some things you just can't have yesterday. You know what I
I
mean?
know.
Like nobody who comes up in this world doing anything like they started it yesterday, now they're hitting gold today. Like it just it's so rare. Don't bank on it, right?
Yep,
So
yep,
habits you need to build them up. So that's a very important note for people to take note of, that habits do take time. And
yep,
some habits that even that you do build up, if you want to expand on this some more too, that some habits that do take time, even when you get them to a stage, they're still not perfect.
yep.
You're still gonna have times that you're gonna want to slip up. Let's say like waking up early, right?
Yeah,
You want to wake up early. You set your alarm clock for 5 a.m., for example, and you're just saying, I want to wake up at 5. I want to wake up at 5. You have a good reason. Everything's in place. You got your good reason why you want to wake up at 5. You set your alarm clock for 5. You got the proper amount of diet. You got the proper sleep. The alarm clock still goes off, and some days you really still just don't want to get out of bed. Like, let's be honest, you really just don't want to get out of that bed. That pillow is way too comfortable. That comforter
yep.
is way too soft. And if you got one of those heavy blankets, oh man, you really don't want to get out of bed at that
Hey,
point.
I've been there.
Yes, you know what I'm talking about then. But yeah,
Yep,
yeah, sometimes
yeah,
you just really don't want to get out, but you literally have to tell yourself, like, hey, whatever I want to do, it is
yep,
so important that I get out of bed. Right,
yep.
let's say you want to work on that side hustle, work on that business. What I figured out and what I found out by doing a bunch of research and talking to different people and everything is, let's say you want to wake up early and start working on that business.
Mm-hmm.
What you're saying when you stay in bed and you don't get up, when you say, I'm going to wake up at 5, I'm going to go work on my business, what you're saying to yourself is that this little bit of extra sleep, let's say you want 30 more minutes of sleep, you're saying this 30 more minutes of mediocre quality sleep is more important to you than being able to take a step forward in fulfilling the life that you want.
Yep. Yeah.
That it's heavy, but that's exactly what you're saying. You're
And
telling your
probably more than likely that 30 minutes of sleep, it's not going to be quality sleep, like you
it's
said.
not.
So it's probably going to make you feel worse when you get out of bed and regret it. But that that is a perfect example of how to build self-discipline when it comes to these habits, because like you said, the instant gratification, I've been there. We have all been there. That's part of the process. We want it to just be fixed magically, but those small moments like waking up uh, at 5 a.m. 5 days a week instead of 2 days a week is progress. And that's how you build that discipline. And that's how you build that problem solving to make sure that you focus on those things. So, like you said, is it worth it to me to get these extra 30 minutes of sleep rather than to focus on my business? And I love that you brought that up because that's where I was at before I transitioned into my current position as a life coach full time. I worked, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. at my normal corporate job, whatever you want to call it. But I would wake up early. I would wake up at 5 a.m., get an hour's worth of work, and then come home, get an hour's worth of work, then maybe fit in some exercise and all that. And you have to figure out what's most important to you. Like, yes, sleep is important. You have to get rest, but is it worth it to you to wake up a little bit earlier just to get a little bit of work done so you can keep moving the ball forward? And that small work that you do, those small actions that you take compound over time. So we think about it like in the immediate future. Like, yeah, if I sleep 30 extra minutes this morning, it's not going to make a big difference. But it will make a big difference 3 weeks from now when you look back and see all those times you slept in and you said, shit, I could have been working,
Mm-hmm.
and I could have actually gotten this project done or gotten this done by now because those 30 minutes or that time could have worked.
Absolutely, yes. And when falling into that kind of a thing, right? Personally, like when I first started like doing the whole wake up early journey, and let's be honest, I still don't wake up early every single day because I still
Yeah.
slip up. But my mindset has shifted, right? And I want to talk about
Mhm.
the mindset shift that I had a little bit, right? When I first started on my waking up, we'll just call it my waking up early journey, right? I when I first did it, I mean, day one, I was hyped. I was ready to go. My alarm clock went off at 4:45. Bam! Hit that button. All right, cool. We're good. Hit that button, popped up, and I was like, all right, cool, ready to go. Let's go. I'm full of energy. Let's go. Day number two, bam! Hit that alarm clock. All right, let's go. Day number three, I heard that alarm clock go off. Oh my god, I gotta get up today. Oh my man. All right, fine. I guess I gotta get up today, and then just hit the button, and then there we go. And then day number four, I just completely slept through the alarm.
Yep.
Completely slept. Yeah, completely slept through the alarm. I didn't even realize it until I woke up like an hour and a half later. And I'm just like, oh my God, I just overslept my alarm. And then the instant thought that came into my mind was, oh my gosh, I just failed, right? I completely failed. And that's what I want to talk about a little bit is failure, right? For me, I haven't had like or what I would call like an absolute massive failure other than like my two failed, well, I guess you can kind of call my two failed businesses massive failures. But I guess that's me thinking about my new mindset that they're not really failures, but rather lessons or anything. But I kind of want to give the question to you, like, what would you consider to be like your biggest failure, and how did you overcome it, and like, what did you learn from that?
Ooh, that's a big question.
Yeah, I don't want to
Oh
stump you though,
no,
but
I know. I would say most recently within the past 2 years, like, starting your own business is difficult and there are certain things that happen. And I thought there was a certain way that I had to do things. So I invested money, I had people work for me, I did all these things, but it wasn't producing the income that I thought came
hmm
from doing those set of actions.
right.
Um, so it was a humbling experience because I realized everything that I'm doing is not working. And, I made financial mistakes. I'm not going to say wasted my time, but I spent my time doing things that weren't putting my business forward. They were just keeping them still, almost like busy work. Busy work is
Yeah.
not productive work. I could go in a whole another tangent about that. But, um, yeah, so I kind of had to have like this humbling moment because when all these things were happening, I was just catastrophizing and I was losing my mindset and losing my focus and just like, having that pity party because that was a new reality that I was in. It was not something that I ever handled before and I had to have that humbling moment where like this isn't working. It doesn't mean that I'm a bad person or I don't know what I'm doing because I know what I'm doing. I'm smart. I have the skills. I'm just not doing it the right way. So I had to have that harsh reality with myself. Like, we either get out of this self pity party
hmm
and fix this and just move forward, whether I think it's how it should be or, regardless of what other people think of me. Because, of course, we don't want to be judged by other people when we make mistakes.
Right.
Or I just continue to just spend money that's not going anywhere, continuing in this bad, poor mindset, not getting results, all that kind of stuff. And, I don't, no one likes to be wrong. And
Nope,
in my
not at
own
all.
business, I don't have a boss to tell me, like, you're not doing this right or you're not doing XYZ. And I didn't want to look at myself in the mirror and like tell myself, like, you're not doing this right because I was defensive because I've been putting in all this work, even though it wasn't showing anything.
Mm. And that actually kind of brings me like another question I just thought of kind of off the top with that is that because I know exactly like me running this podcast I'm the host, I'm the head of this podcast and like everything, right? So kind of if you want to think about it in a business sense, I'm like the CEO of this whole thing, right? So
Yeah.
technically no one can really tell me what I'm doing right and what I'm doing wrong, which at the same time one time you're like, oh, that's so freeing, like, yeah, no one can tell me what I'm doing right and wrong, but at the same time you're also like at the same time you also have that thought of like, if I'm doing something wrong, I'm not quite sure what it is that I'm doing wrong, or I don't have people to help hold me accountable
Yeah.
for what that is. So I guess my backup, or not backup, my second question to you is kind of like a follow up to that is like, how then in your field now, like being your own boss and everything, how do you hold yourself accountable for those things that you said that you're not quite doing correctly?
Yeah, so that was a big, this kind of relates to what I said before with my previous failure. Like in my past position, I was really good at what I did. And I was a hard worker and I was successful. And I took that same mentality, like as long as I just like work as hard as I can and do all the things, naturally I'm gonna be really good at here, like in my business, which is not true. That doesn't lay over in that way. And I thought, like, I don't need help. Like I'm great at what I do. I can do this myself.
Yep.
I've been successful everywhere else and everything else that I've done. I'm good. Like I'm the exception, which is not true. So,
Oh.
after catastrophizing and going through that hard, humbling time, I got myself a business coach. And she has changed my life, and she is my accountability partner, and she has helped my business grow to new heights. And I love it. And, she's not
Hmm.
my boss, but she helps me be accountable. She helps make sure that I'm staying within the guidelines of where I want to go and how I want to do it. And, it's just, she's great.
Hmm. Absolutely. Having that accountability is absolutely absolutely important. I know I personally don't have a coach yet myself, but I
Hmm.
have been to masterminds. I have been to webinars and online things where I have went through like practice of accountability. I've asked a couple friends to be like, "Yo, I'm going to do this, and if I
Yeah.
don't do this, hold me to that. Blast me out on social media saying the host of Motivate Grind Succeed said he's going to do something and he didn't do it. He's not living up to what he's telling you all to do on the show." And that right
Oh,
there is scary as I don't even know what. Because I'm like, yo, if I mean, because like honestly, even though I do mess up at times, still, if I can't even do something as simple as just say like, oh, hey, like I tell my buddy, like, hey, bro, I'm gonna go script an episode, and if I don't script it, like blast me out on social media or something. Like something even as simple as that could be something as being held accountable. Or an example that I give that people they oh man they cringe, but it's a little like I like to see them cringe a little bit at this. So I tell them like, okay, whatever you're going to do, tell your friend or tell the person, your accountability partner, whatever it is, you're going to do something. Let's say you say you're going to go exercise, right? You
yep.
say, okay, I'm going to go exercise at 5:30 in the morning. I'm going to be out the house and on my way to the gym, if not at the gym already. And you tell your friend, look, this is what I'm going to do. If I don't do this, I will Venmo you $50. No one likes to hear that because I don't even want to do that.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you it's gonna work because I do have an app. I do have an app on my phone right here, right? I do have an app on my phone. It's called Sleep is Android. It's the alarm clock that I use. And because I know I sometimes have a tendency to oversleep or to just be like, I just want 5 more minutes. There actually isn't an option on this application to say like, hey, we like if you want to, you can put in a deposit for $10, right? You can put a deposit in for $10. It's refundable, but you can put in a deposit for $10 that if you don't wake up when the alarm says to get up and you don't fill out the puzzle that actually proves that you're awake, we'll take that $10 out of your account. And I guarantee you, I've been waking up every single day when that alarm goes off because I don't want my ten
That's
dollars taken.
smart.
So I
That's
don't want
smart.
because I don't want that $10 taken. So
Yep.
so
Yeah.
that's what I do, right? So there's all kinds of ways to do the accountability and everything, right? And so,
Yeah, definitely. And that's a
mm,
huge aspect when it comes to coaching, both things that you said. So, like, I believe that everybody should have a coach. You can change your life in so many ways. And it doesn't have to be with me. That's not a plug or anything. But, like, part of coaching is that financial investment. And you put
mhm,
that money in. And when you put that money in, you better make sure you reach those goals and you put in the effort. So, like,
mhm,
I pay a lot of money for my coach, and it is worth it because it holds me accountable. And I'm like, I'm not going to waste my own damn money, you know?
exactly. Like no, unless you're just sitting on like millions of dollars and you're just like, yeah, sure, you can just have it just because.
Exactly.
And most people, let's be honest, most people don't have that kind of money to just spend willy nilly like how they want to.
No.
So because of that, you're just like, I got a budget, I got a savings account, I got this account, and I'm gonna be putting in this amount of money that I was saving up for like a rainy day, buy a new fridge, buy a new car, buy whatever you want to get, and you're taking this chunk of money you had saved for that and saying, you know what, I'm giving it to this individual. You
Yep.
better do your best, do your best to do what you
Yeah.
can do to get the
Yeah.
most out of that.
Yeah. And that accountability aspect, like telling friends or whoever it might be, is important as well. So, like, some of the people that I work with, they're going through like big transitions. And if you hold that in, like you don't have that extra accountability outside of your coach. But when you just be open and talk about it, we all grow in different ways. And I feel like there's slight like vulnerability or shame behind that, but it's all good. We all
Hmm.
have our own bad habits. We all try and work through things. Being open and talking about it makes you more comfortable and it helps with that accountability aspect.
Absolutely. Yes. I think the saying goes, if you want to go fast, you can go by yourself. But if you want to go far, you have to go as a group or you have to go together. And
Yeah.
because of doing that, when you realize that if you really want to go far with anything, that you have to work with other people. Yes, you might have to have a team, you might have to have coworkers, you might have to have, like you said, coaches or anything that you need, but you
Yeah.
need other people. And part of that having other people is them keeping you accountable for what it is that you said you're going to do.
Yep.
Naturally. And so that kind of leads me to my next question. And that is on this topic of accountability. Do you think that this thing of having a lack of accountability is the number one mistake that you see most young adults make, or do you think that it's something else?
I would say that's a piece of it. So we are great at talking ourselves out of things. And if we don't have that accountability, we're more willing to just say, you know what, I don't need to do this. I don't need to go to the gym. I don't need to wake up at 5 a.m. I can sleep, whatever. And when we have that accountability, it keeps us focused, it keeps us motivated, it provides clarity because you're saying, hey, this is what I'm doing. So you like, there's no like gray area of expectations. um so yeah.
Yeah, I agree too with
I
that.
know.
Oh yes, I agree with that too. Because so many times, like I said, I mean, even back with the accountability thing, like I said, like if you say you're going to do something and then no one's there to hold you accountable, and you're not the kind of person that like has that mindset of like I need to do this, or else like I'm going to inflict like this self punishment. I'm going to make myself do like 100 push-ups even though I don't want to. Most people don't have that kind of like mental strength in themselves. So having someone else come in and do that, that is I'm telling you, it's game changing. It's absolutely game changing,
Yeah.
especially when
Yeah.
you know that that accountability partner is not only there, but especially when it's someone that cares about you and is in your corner to back you up. Because sometimes I think you can attest to this, that sometimes when you're first starting your business and it's just you and you alone, sometimes it gets tough. It gets
It
hard,
does.
and you're just
It's
like, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say that accountability helps you build that discipline over time. Like it's going to help you get better and better at doing these things. So maybe you don't need as much accountability in the future because you've built those skills, you understand the importance, and you're able to do it on your own.
Hmm. Absolutely. And just out of curiosity, is all these topics labeled in some kind of like self-help book that you've read at all? Or have these all been like conglomerations of self-help books?
I'd say conglomerations of self help books. One book that I really enjoyed that helped me like overcome my mindset and like understanding like what's holding me back. It's The Eight Enemies of Mental Toughness. It's by Damien Z. His last name's really weird, so I can't even remember how to pronounce it. But it kind of understands or kind of talks about what stops us and what we need to be mentally tough, to become self sufficient, to problem solve our way through life, to become more disciplined, all of those aspects.
Hmm. Okay, interesting. I might have to pick the book up and read it because it sounds very interesting. I've never actually heard of it before.
Yeah,
You
it's a
said
super easy read.
okay. All right, cool. So I'll definitely go back and look through that. And so that kind of brings to the end of like the thing I want to talk about with the problem solving and everything, right? So I kind of want to transition a little bit more into the second topic that I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit more.
Yep.
And that's talking about self-sufficiency, right? So I know we've been
Hmm.
talking a whole bunch about like, oh, you need other people, you need other people, you need other people. And then it's almost like, why are we talking about self-sufficiency now? And it's because the reason why I want to bring up self sufficiency is because yes, there is absolutely a time and a place for other people, but like I alluded to before, sometimes you're gonna just be there by yourself, and
Yep.
sometimes you just have to just pull yourself up by your own bootstraps and just say, look, I need to get this done. I need to do this. And right now, there's nobody else around here that's going to be able to assist me till I get out of this little bit of a rut. So when you get to those stages, you have to know how to be able to depend on yourself, right? So I want to start off with the question: what does it truly mean, right, to be self sufficient, right? What is that? What is like
Yeah.
the definition of that?
Well, I would say when you say self sufficient, it's like needing no help outside of who you are. So, like being able to be independent emotionally, intellectually, physically, you're able to take care of all of your needs.
Okay, perfect. So how would one then be able to get there? Then we're gonna let's just assume it's like a an end goal or location, right? Like a
Hmm.
location of like I want to get here in my life or slash end goal. Like I want to be able to accomplish this, right? How would one get to being to the stage of what you would deem as self sufficient?
Yeah, I would say the first step is really just being curious with where you want to be and where you are now, and trouble or not troubleshooting, but brainstorming how to get there. So, once again, this is just curiosity brainstorming. It doesn't mean we're going to shut ourselves down or talk negatively about our thoughts or what ideas we're coming up with. But for example, like if you want to reach a certain savings goal, let's just say like $5,000 in your savings account. Where are you at now? Of course, you want to be at 5,000. So, how can you get there? What ways does that look like? So, does that mean getting a side job or getting supplemental income? Does it mean asking your boss for a raise? Um, does it mean cutting down on your budget? Does it mean getting rid of subscriptions that you don't need? Thinking about all those ideas of how you could become self sufficient to save that money is really the first step. Just generating those ideas and really getting resourceful, creative, and understanding you're responsible for these actions. So, what could you do? Even if it may be outside of the norm, just think about different things that you could do.
Absolutely. And it all comes down to having a crystal clear goal as well. Like if you don't have that crystal clear goal, then you're not going to be able to you could be going down this path of going towards self-sufficiency. But if you don't have that goal, how are you going to know when you get to that point? Or how do you even know what we talked about before, the skills that you need? How are you going to know what skills to build? How are you going
Exactly.
to know what knowledge that you need to gain in order to be able to do that? And so I
Yep.
guess I want to lead that into the next question, and as what is well, you kind of already answered it, but I guess something that young adults can do to set themselves off going in that right direction. You kind of already answered that with being able to like, understand what it is that you actually want to do and be able to set goals towards getting towards that. And
Yeah.
so,
So,
yes, if you want to
oh,
go
go
ahead
ahead.
yeah, I was saying if you want to go ahead and expand upon that anymore, you can go ahead and do that.
Yeah, I would definitely say, what you're talking about, clarity and all that. Like vague goals, you're going to get vague results. But this kind of goes back to the habit building aspect that we talked about. So it all encompasses each other in some aspect, but being curious with those things and then starting very small and committing to just doing a small actionable task for like 15 days, something tiny that you know you can do to get the ball moving forward.
Hmm. Absolutely. And I pose this question because somehow this always comes up in like almost every single like recording I do with other people. Have you heard of the guy named Jim Quick?
No, I haven't.
Okay, that's all right. Most people haven't. That's quite all right. I only bring him up because he's a proponent of his small, simple steps, right? So that's what
Uh-huh.
that reminded me of, right? So I think I want to say the example that he gave was saying like, let's say, I'm talking about fitness a lot, but I mean, it's just the first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah.
So his example was to be able to like, if you want to be able to like, go to the gym, right? You have to. Your overall goal is go to the gym and get a workout in. We know that is the overreaching goal. So to a lot of people, that's going to seem very like very big, and it's gonna be like kind of scary because you're like, oh man, I'm just gonna be the first time ever going to the gym. I don't know what I'm gonna be doing, and it seems very overwhelming and everything. So what Jim says to do is break it down into small, simple steps, and he calls it
Yep.
S3. I think that's what he calls it,
Okay.
and it starts with something as simple as just wake up, right? Like it sounds like super simple, like wake up. Like of course you're gonna wake up, but yeah, make that the goal first. Wake up
Yep.
with the mindset you're going to go to the gym. Okay. And then stop. That's it. That's all you're going to do. If that's all you can do for that day, that's fine. You took one small step towards getting to that. If you're feeling adventurous that day, you could even go so far as say, okay, you're going to wake up and you're going to wash your face and you're going to put on your gym clothes. Okay.
Yep.
That's right there. I mean, you're already going to be putting on clothes for the day anyway, so you can already just put on your gym clothes. That's a small, simple step, right? And after that, if that's all you do, okay, fine, cool. But you took another step. If you're feeling
Yep.
real adventurous, then you can put on your gym shoes. And then after that point, then you can go start your car. Or if you're gonna go for a run, go for a run. If you're gonna walk to the gym, walk. Whatever it is that you're gonna do, just take those next steps. And the goal was to be able to just start. because that's
Yep.
usually the hardest part, is the start. When people are faced with some kind of goal, myself included, what I've found a lot of times is that when we want to start something, that's always the hardest time. That's the point of the most amount of resistance, because we
Yep.
don't know what's going to be on the other side of when we start. And it's that fear of the unknown that kind of paralyzes some of us to make us make the excuses and just say, oh, I don't really want to do that. That's for somebody else. I don't really feel like doing that. Maybe another day, maybe another time. And that thing, again, that's normal. It happens, and that's what the brain is supposed to do. But if you know that this is something that you actually want to do, honestly, what I've learned, and I'm not going to take credit for it because I've heard it from a whole bunch of different places. You want to give yourself 3 seconds. That's it. By the count of three, you have better already be starting it. Otherwise, that's where that accountability comes into play, and you're probably going to be paying somebody $50 through Venmo, right? Or whatever it is that you got to do, right? Just give yourself 3 seconds. You say you're going to get up in the morning, okay? So you're sleeping, your alarm clock goes off. You say, I don't want to get up, okay? So you instantly start saying, okay, 3, 2, 1, and you better be up. That's it.
Yeah.
You're up. You're up and you're doing your thing, right? So that way you gave yourself minimal amount of time to be able to actually like make up the excuses like, oh, but it's so early. Oh, and I'm just so tired. Because as long as you give yourself like you take action, and that's what I believe about, and I'm pretty sure you as a coach will probably teach that as well. As long as you're all about taking action, as long as you take action, right?
Yeah.
That way, the room for excuses is already minimized, right? As long as you just start, because the longer you wait, the more excuses that you'll make. Well, I should put that
Yeah,
on a
we can.
t-shirt.
Yeah. I know. I
I
never
just,
heard of that, but I like that concept because we can talk ourselves out of everything and anything. Like if you do that and give yourself that 3 seconds, or this can be applied to anything going on in your life, like a decision you have to make at work or with your money or grocery shopping, give yourself just a quick 3 seconds or however long, make the decision and move on. Stop
mhm.
allowing yourself to waste so much mental energy talking yourself out of things, making decisions, thinking of the worst case scenario. Just do it, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'll even take that a step farther too and say, like, even if you're someone like me who likes to, the way I like to prepare myself for things a lot of time is actually thinking about the worst case scenario, but I don't dwell on it. That's the main differentiator. I process and I look at, okay, what's the worst case? Let's say doing this podcast, for example, right? What's the worst case scenario of this podcast, right? I invest in the mic, I invest in the backdrop, I invest in the lighting and the cameras and all those kind of things, right? I invest in all that kind of stuff and it doesn't go anywhere. What's the worst thing that happens? Well, I have a new microphone, so in case I need to take video calls for work, I have a new microphone. I have a backdrop, so it doesn't disturb from anything. I have a new camera, so I can be on camera for work. I have lights around, so I can be more illuminated. Right? I just have more technological gear, or if I want to, I could just resell it. Right? The worst case scenario, I just have more technological gear that I have, and if I don't need it, I can sell it or give it to somebody else who actually really needs it. Can I withstand that? Can I in my right mind take that worst case scenario and live and continue to live perfectly fine, or at least to an extent that I won't have any regrets? In my mind, that's fine. Like if I have to sell some of this stuff, I'll be a little bit disappointed that the podcast didn't work out, for example, but I'm not going to be, mourning it for the next 3 years. I'll be able to move on and be able to pivot to something else. So my mindset is I can handle that worst case scenario. So if that's the worst case scenario, I'm just going to jump right in because I already know that if things hit the fan and everything, I can handle whatever the worst is, right? So I
Yeah.
don't dwell on it, but I just process it and see, okay, I can handle that, and so therefore, let's just do it. Let's go.
Yeah. And then always you could always take it a step further and ask yourself like what would I learn from this worst case scenario? Or if the
Mm,
worst case scenario already happened, what did I learn? Because you're always going to learn things through that process of failure or whatever it might be because it teaches you maybe what you shouldn't do or how to change certain things or anything of that nature. So switching your perspective a little bit like that can help you understand like it's not a big deal. We all fail. It's just not
mm.
blasted on Facebook or social media in certain ways or,
Right.
whatever it might be.
Right. So I guess I'll expand upon the example I've been alluding to this whole time. Like with one of the past business ventures that I did was actually doing a YouTube channel, right? So I did a YouTube channel for about a year, and you can't find it anymore because I already done deleted it and everything. Because I was just like, it was garbage, it was trash. I got up to about 100 subscribers, but then at that point I was like, this ain't for me. This ain't for me, because I actually used to run like a reaction channel, and I realized like me doing reactions, I'm not the most like on the spot witty kind of person, and I'm not the person that just wants to sit there and have like the gaping mouth and everything for the thumbnails. I'm like that just looks bad to me. I'm like I don't want to be doing all that. So while I was doing it though, but like I said, I was in that for the money, and I realized that reaction channels can make a lot of money if they really pop off and everything. And I'm just like I was in it for that. After doing it for about a year, that's when I started realizing like it really started getting tiring. I started realizing, man, having to come up with YouTube video ideas is hard. Having to have to edit videos is so time consuming. It's not even funny. Right. And then me having to be able to schedule those things and be able to try to make an upload schedule that works well enough with your schedule as a person, but also works well enough that you don't burn yourself out, and also well enough so that the YouTube algorithm likes you enough to keep pushing your videos. It's a big balancing act, and so sometimes you can't even like take it up with that. And so for me now, naturally on the surface, yes, I was gonna say I failed the YouTube channel thing and it didn't work because obviously I'm not doing it anymore, like I said. However, comma, I learned a lot from that. I learned about how the YouTube algorithm works. I know about how SEO works. I know about putting keywords in titles and putting keywords in the descriptions. I know about what add-ons on Google Chrome that I need to do to be able to become more and more SEO optimized. I know what kind of things I need to put in the comment section. I know how often I need to be uploading. I know I have a good idea about those things now. So even though I failed that YouTube channel, the amount that I actually ended up learning
Yep.
after that whole event, it was absolutely a perfectly useful knowledge that now I can use to apply to whatever else that I do that's going to be like YouTube related, or even anything else that could spread some more information to other people.
Exactly. And like even with my failures, it's solidified what I'm doing. It's created clarity on where I want to go. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm more clear in good or okay with where I'm at because it aligns more with my values, what I want to do. It just yeah, it's made me more clear and confident in what I'm doing.
Absolutely. Yep. I can't believe I missed that point too. That's what YouTube also taught me as well, is that I do horrible when it comes to roasting people. When I'm with friends, sure, we'll roast each other all the time, 'cause that's what friends do all the time. But when it comes to actually like doing it online and things, I'm just like, I don't really know you like that. So I feel more driven to help you as a person versus like, kind of make fun of you and put you down. Right. So that's kind of what it helped to teach me with that, and helped teach me like, okay, and so from there, that's when I kind of pivoted to my second business, which was actually a drop shipping business, right? So I pivoted to that and I figured, okay, yeah, I can make a lot of money off of this. Of course, obviously, because I see a whole bunch of people doing it. But at the same time, I'm also selling a product, or at that time, multiple products that actually help people. So I was going towards the right direction of helping people. And I did see that I was starting to get a little bit more success with it. I never was able to break even or make a profit on that store, obviously, because I again shut it down. But 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 I was able to learn more. That was like, hey, I at least know I'm going towards the right direction, right? And that was another stepping stone for me to learn, like, okay, I'm going in the right direction. I'm helping people with certain things, but maybe this isn't the right avenue to quite help people. You know what I mean? Like it's not quite. I'm on the right track, but I just ain't quite there yet. And after that, I took a little bit of a hiatus. Kind of did kind of went more into the self improvement, self help space, and I realized, I kind of like this space. Now,
I know.
granted, I kind of like this space. Everybody, most people here are really kind of nice. They're real. They're real friendly. They're helping you out with all kinds of information. Like, hey, did you hear of this masterclass? Hey, did you hear this book? Hey, did you hear that? Hey, did you hear that? It's a great and just like fulfilling community. That's why I started falling in love with it, and then I started doing the typical like, oh, I kind of like this thing, and I started reading books and reading more and more
Yep.
books and everything, and then I kind of went to become that person that just kind of became like a walking encyclopedia of book knowledge and everything.
Yep.
And I was just like, I started off with, I think of the first book I started off with was probably Rich Dad Poor Dad. I know it's pretty it's probably pretty cliche. Like everybody's like, we start off with that, or maybe anything by or anything kind of like those kind of books. But I read it, and that's when I started realizing there's like a whole nother world out there of self development, self improvement, and like side hustle
Yeah.
and all these kind of things. And that's when I just got just engulfed in it, and I was like, this is actually this is great. I absolutely love
I
this. So
love
then when
it.
I started falling into that, then I'm like, you know what? All this information that I'm teaching, then I had that epiphany. Like I started talking to people about this because naturally, what you put in is what you're going to spew out, because it's just that's just how it works. So I'm talking to more people and I'm explaining these concepts and things to them, and I'm telling them how it's bettering my life. They're just saying, "Wow, really? I didn't know that." I'm like, "You didn't know that? There's the
Yeah,
book right there."
I know.
It's so. You just kind of. It's just like picking up any old Harry Potter book. Just pick it up and read it. But it's like, it's self help. It's nonfiction.
Yeah.
I don't want all that. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Podcast. There you go. You can listen to podcasts. I like my music better, and I like the okay, fine, audiobook. But I'm at work and I prefer to listen to me. I'm like, okay, and at this point, I'm like, all I'm hearing is excuses. Okay, like
Yeah, it
if
is.
you really want to better yourself, and you really are in that point where you're like, I need to better myself. I need to pick myself up by my own bootstraps, self-sufficiency, and I need to be able to like do what I gotta do. Like, I'm gonna pick up that book. I'm gonna be doing research. Like, okay, if I know my weaknesses in time management, for example, or being able to build up habits or anything, right? I'm going to be looking through Google, like what self help books are there that allow me to better my time management or better my habit building or better whatever it is that it is. Or looking up shows, looking up books, doing all that kind of stuff. You're taking accountability. Boom, see there it is again. Taking accountability for what it is that you actually want, and you're taking action. Boom, action again. Taking action
Yep.
towards that, right? I mean, guys, if you're not seeing the process here, habit
Yep.
building, accountability, all this kind of thing. Like, I know. I sound like a broken record. I bring on the guests and they say these things, and you're just like, I think I've heard that before. It's because, let me tell you why. It's because it's the simple things, the small, simple steps. See, look,
Mhm.
there we go again. Small,
Mhm.
simple steps. Thanks, Jim
Yep.
Quick. The small, simple steps that are going to push the biggest needles in your life. It
Yep.
starts off small. That's
Yeah.
just how it is. It starts off small.
There is no special equation that you're going to tell your listeners that I'm going to tell your listeners, because it is these basic actions, these small, simple steps, that accountability is truly all you need to get started. And I have two things that I want to say about what you
Mm-hmm.
just said is like, you can create the best life you want to live. Why would you not want to? You can get your
Mm,
finances under control. You can be confident. You can be happy. You can find a career that you enjoy and make the money you need. You can have the
mm-hmm.
best relationships. Why would you not want to do that? All right. So,
Absolutely.
that goes back to the problem solving and the self sufficiency. You can create these things for you. You just need to find what works best for you to create these goals, and it all goes back to small habits and all that. But a second thing that I was going to say that I just forgot. So never mind. It will
Uh,
probably come back to me in a second.
yeah, that's quite all right. But yeah, expanding on the point that you made, so hopefully I give you some time to kind of think
I
about it.
know, seriously.
But yeah, but when you said to create your best life, it's actually astounding to me that back before I got into the self development space, I was just like, I'm just gonna go through life. I'm gonna go through high school, go through college, give myself a job, work my 9 to 5, do my thing, and then do my typical thing, get married, have my 2.2 kids and everything like that.
Yep.
All those kind of great things, just live happily ever after the end, right? We'll do all that, fine, great, wonderful, right? But then I realized the more I got into the self development space, I'm like, there is so much more that I can do. There is so much more. I don't have to be the next Grant Cardone. I don't have to be,
Oh,
the next big name person that's has all the spotlight and everything. Would that be nice? If it comes, it comes. That's great. But if it doesn't, I'm not going to kill myself to get there. But the point I'm trying to make with that is that there's so much more that I could be doing. There's so much more that I
yep.
can do with my life. There's so much more value that I can add to people's lives, right?
Yeah. You can
And
do it just being normal Joe Schmo. Like,
there you
you,
go.
you can, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And I don't mean to get a little morbid here, but this is a point that I like to bring up to people, like especially when I'm talking to people and then they're just like but, and I try to explain to them things that they can
Mm-hmm.
do and they keep
Yep.
saying but. I'm like, so I take them by the shoulder, I hold them by their shoulder, and I just go, look, you're not dead yet. That means you still have purpose on this earth. God put you here. He didn't
Yep.
take you out yet, which means you still have stuff you got to do. You still have people you got to impact. So why in the world are you wasting your life right now saying I'm just going to do whatever and whatever willy-nilly and not try to impact people with something? To me,
Yes.
it doesn't make any sense, right? Like obviously, if you were put here to be purposeless, then you're literally just like a waste of space. So that means
Yep.
naturally, if you're put here, you are put here for an important purpose, which means if you want to fulfill that important purpose, you have to go out, find what that purpose is, find what you're good at, work towards it, and become better at it. That way you can impact people. Will you impact one? Sure. Will you impact a million? I don't know. I don't know. I can't tell you because I simply don't
Yeah.
know. But the point that I'm trying to make is I know that if you're here, you can impact at least one person. And your goal in life should be to try to find at least that one person to impact. And then
Yep.
I guarantee you, once you find that one person that you impact, for some reason, I still haven't found the reason why it is. But when you find that one person that you impact and you make their lives better, you feel like you feel like you're on a mountaintop high experience. Like you feel like
Yeah.
you accomplished the world with that. And it's the greatest feeling. I'm telling you, it's
I
better
love
than
it.
It's better than any amount of money that you can ever make. It's better than any amount of clout or any amount of fame and fortune and recognition you can get. And while those things are nice and everything, once you impact somebody and someone comes back and tells you truly with a heartfelt thank you for doing XYZ, I'm telling you, it's gonna hit. It's gonna hit right here in your chest, right here in your heart. You're
Yeah.
gonna feel it, and you're gonna feel like I'm doing something good, and that's gonna inspire you to do anymore.
Yeah, it's that pure joy and gratitude. And like, yeah, we can be grateful for, the food that we eat, the house that we have, but like having that pure gratitude when someone says, like, you've changed my life and these things that you've taught me, I will forever remember. I mean, there's nothing better than that. Truly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Did you happen to remember that second thing that you were going to bring
I
up?
did, and I wrote it down
Hey,
while you
let's
were talking.
go. Birthday.
No, I was gonna say, not to like flip flop, but when you were
That's
talking
my
about like learning these things and like implementing and growing and all this and reading these books and these podcasts, be sure to implement as well. So I say that because I'm a
bravo.
learner. I love learning. I will read every book, listen to every podcast, and I will soak in all the information. But if you don't implement it, then it just sits there. So, taking time to grow yourself and understand things are going to come. Like naturally, when you focus on things, it's going to improve all other aspects of your life. But read one book, practice implementing it, learn your takeaways, digest it all, and then move on to the next piece of learning information. And like I just kind of said, like if you focus on like building your confidence, and you focus on working on that and you implement it, there are going to be other things that naturally improve in your life, like your mindset, your happiness, your gratitude for your job, and all these other things. So there's other things that come along with it, but just remember to implement and don't suck yourself down into that hole of just learning and soaking in all the information and getting so much that you don't even know what to do with it.
And that's definitely a mistake that I myself fell into when I first got into this space as well. Is that,
Yes,
as I said before,
I
I
did
went
too.
book. I think it's a pretty common mistake because all the
Yeah.
time you go absolutely knowledge like it's like this new thing. It's almost like striking gold, or if any of my people are gamers out there playing Minecraft, it's like when you strike diamond for the first time, you go crazy. You're like, oh my god, I found diamond, yo, this is great. And you just keep going mining like crazy. You lose track of time and everything, and it's absolutely fantastic. But same thing with back to the self help space. You read books on books on books on books on books, and you're just like
Hmm.
so much information, and then you become what I call analysis paralysis.
Yep.
And now
You
you
got
have
it.
no idea what to do with all this information. You have information about this, you have information about that, you have information about that, and you have no way to actually digest it, right? You can it's like going to an all you can eat buffet and you just shoved your face full of food, and now you have to sit
Yep.
there, and now you're trying to just and now you're just extremely tired and you can't do anything else because you're just absolutely full of food. Thankfully your stomach digests the food, but but when you're learning all these things, you got to digest it, right?
Yep.
You absolutely have to digest it. You have to take it in. And what I've learned is that I went from reading maybe 3 or 4 self help books a month to now I'll maybe read one maybe every 6 months. And it doesn't have
Yep.
to be even like the longest book. It could be like a 200-page book that I know I can finish in like a weekend, right? I know I can finish that book in a weekend, but I know because of what I'm trying to get at and what information I'm trying to get, I that will just simply not help me whatsoever because I'll go through
Yeah.
the book and then I'll be like, okay, cool, that was a great book, but there was so much more information in there that I missed or that might take
Yep.
who knows how long to implement. Like you're talking about habits, some might take weeks, some might take months, some might take years. You don't know how long it's going to take for you to improve on those habits and those things you're trying to work on. So you have to take your time with these books. And the second thing I was actually going to mention with that too is a kind of like a small note. When you're talking about implement, you can guess what word I use in the outro of all my episodes. I tell people to implement what you heard in the episode to get the most value and bang for buck out of each and every single episode.
Yep.
It's the guys, small, simple steps. Just implement what it is that you hear today. If you want to go all the way back to the beginning, and you want to learn about, let's say, accountability, right? Accountability, you can study accountability for who knows how long, but the idea is to implement that. What are you going to do? Are you actually going to go out of your way right now after this episode, or even during this episode, if you're watching or listening or however you're consuming this? Are you going to text that friend? Are you going to look for a coach, whether it be Nicki, whether it be somebody else that's out there? Are you going to take action and do, or are you just going to sit here and say, oh, this is a nice 55-minute conversation that I heard between two people, chopping it up and talking like friends. That was kind of nice. Or are you
Yeah.
actually going to go and take action and actually go and do? That's
Yep.
the main difference, because
Yep.
there are people who sit and listen, and then they're going to complain about their life being the same. And like, well, I mean, I have the information, but nothing's happening. And then, or are you going to be the person who actually hears the information and does something and starts moving that needle towards actually what they want?
Yep. And I
The choice is
cannot
yours.
emphasize enough how small the actions can be. It does not have to be grand. It could be as simple as waking up one day a week at 5 a.m., or it could be as simple as just driving to the gym and going inside and looking at the machines, or it could be just eating one carrot because you don't like vegetables and you're trying to get used to them. Like, just start
That's me.
small. I know. I know. People get these like built up thoughts or perspectives in their head, like they have to do it this way. Kind of goes to the all or nothing thinking, like they have to do it this way or else it's not going to work. And that's not true. You can do it however you want to do it, but just start small, because when you go too fast or you build up too many habits at one time, you're going to burn yourself out, and then you're going to crash and burn and then go back to where you were before.
Mm-hmm.
Make your
Absolutely.
tasks so easy that you can't say no.
Absolutely. You sound just like Jim Quick.
Maybe I have heard of him. I'm going to have to
Hey,
go Google him afterwards.
yeah, boss. Yeah, maybe he definitely has some good information on him. So yeah, I know
Yeah.
so I know we're starting to come up on time. So I have to, before we wish you adieu and farewell and everything, as I ask everybody who comes on the show the same kind of question, right? Well, I ask them the same couple questions to end off. Question number one: let's say somebody just woke up, right? I'm talking like they're wiping the drool off the side of their mouth, right? They just woke up. They're like, oh my gosh, I just woke up. It's been 57 minutes. I missed the entire episode, but I don't want to go back and listen to the whole thing for another hour right now. What is one piece of advice that someone can take from this episode? It could be something that you already said. It could be something brand spanking new. What is one thing that you want someone to take from this episode that you can say, implement this now, or maybe it might be implementation, whatever it is, just one piece, one valuable piece of advice that you can give to somebody?
Take small, actionable steps to implement your goals.
Mm, I agree,
Start very,
100%.
very, very, very small.
Mm-hmm. That is absolutely true, 100%. Because if you start too big, the chances of you failing are going to be that much more great.
Yep.
Absolutely. So, second question that I got for you is this one. This one's not as on the spot, but I mean, we've been talking quite a bit, and let's say people are really interested, and they're just like, I want to find out more about Nicki. Nicki's pretty cool. I kind of want to talk to her and everything. I might want to take her on as a coach or something. Like what's your call to action? Where do you want people to go after this episode to go find out more information about you, and maybe to get in touch with you, get in contact with you about
Yeah.
anything?
So you can find me on the typical social media, Facebook and Instagram. My profile is Unleashed Leadership. You can also find me at unleashedleadership.com. And anybody who's interested that wants to learn more, see how we can work together, or even how coaching can change your world, you can schedule a free consultation call with me. That's the first step I offer to everybody. Free 60-minute call gives us time to get to know each other, evaluate your goals, and figure out what the best next steps are for you moving forward. You can schedule that on social media, on my website, shoot me a message. I'm always happy to chat.
So guys, so if you haven't had a time to write that down, guys, that's quite all right. It's going to be, if you're watching this on YouTube, it's going to be in the episode description. If you're listening to this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening to, that's going to be in the episode description. Or if you're really feeling fancy, go to the website, motivategrindssucceed.com. Nicki's is going to be under the guest page, and all her social media links and everything for you to get in contact with her are going to be there. So you have no excuse to not hit her up if you need anything at all. Okay.
Yep.
Like I'm trying to make it as easy as possible for you guys to make it just literally just click. Hey Nicki, how you doing? I want your coaching services, right? Something as simple as that. So,
Yep.
alrighty. So before we wish you adieu, any last parting words of wisdom or anything that you actually want to give to anybody? Any kind of shout outs to anything that you want to make at all, or is
I
that it?
just want to say that everything is possible for you. Whoever you are listening to this, you can go out there and create the life that you want. You just have to start with these simple steps. And it is possible for you, okay? We are walking examples of everything that's possible. It's there.
Absolutely.
Don't doubt it.
Absolutely. Hope you guys wrote that down. If not, rewind it, write it down, listen to it, save it as a wallpaper, whatever you got to do. I don't care what you got to do. Put that mind sticker. I don't care what you got to do. But we're on time. Thank you so much, Nicki, for coming on the show. I appreciate it so greatly. The listeners, I know you can't really see the listeners, but I guarantee you the listeners also appreciate it very, very much so. And so, guys, with that, I'm going to wish you all adieu. Thank you all for tuning into another episode of the Motivate, Grind, Succeed podcast. And I'm going to see you all when I see you all next week. Take care, you guys. Have a good one.
Bye.